Yes, our guest today has helped create more millionaires than the National Lottery. It's Tosh Farrell. Tosh is the former head of international football development and technical coordination at Everton FC, helping to develop numerous players like Wayne Rooney, Ross Barkley, Jack Rodwell, etc. Tosh is considered one of the best youth coaches in the world, with distinguished football coaches like the former Scotland manager Craig Brown endorsing his methods. Tosh, how are you?
I'm in good shape, thank you.
Great. You been missing the
The
football?
build up, that isn't
I
it?
know, the big build up. You been missing the football, mate?
Yeah. I think like us all, we're all just sitting waiting for it to start. But I wanted to. I'm 50-50. Me head is saying, my heart is saying, get the balls rolling. But my head is saying it's got to be absolutely right for everybody. And if it means delaying it, let's delay it. Because the last thing we want is it to start and then stop again. I mean, because that'll be a disaster for everybody.
I think the safety of the players and the kids who play football is probably the number one priority, isn't it?
Yeah,
Rather
yeah,
than getting the money back into the game or whatever else that maybe
yeah.
some people are focused on at the moment. You've got your own coaching academy, Tosh, is that right?
Well, I've got my own coaching program. I'd hardly call it an academy. I mean, we have. I try to work with everybody. I mean, it's still been me priorities from when I've started. I have this thing that if you want to be coached, come along. I'll work with you. I don't discriminate. Obviously, when I was running my programs in the US, we it was a community-based club, and then we give them the opportunity to move into a an elitish program, so to speak. But I never went out sourcing players. The elite players were in that community group. I just developed them from that. So I try not to call it an academy because I mean, but purely by the definition, academy means the best of the best with the best coaches at the best facility. And I don't think there's an academy in the world that can say they've got that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, Tosh. So I just call it an academy because there's not another description or short description that fits. And I think a lot of people call them academies. But you're right. An academy is an elite level thing.
Yeah,
It's more like coach. It's not like training sessions, isn't it? More than
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I tend to describe it as a striving for excellence. I mean, the program I call it an SFX program, striving for excellence. Um, all the players, and I mean, without getting on a soapbox here, Kevin, it's standards, isn't it? I mean, I could be an excellent amateur player. I could be an excellent professional player. I could be in the world elite, so I'm in that top expand. So it's all standards, and I just just don't try to have a discrimination word that would put a person off coming into your program. If you say it's an academy, suddenly it's well, the body language, they must want the best of the best there, and we don't. I mean, or I don't. I mean, I want them to come along, have the best experience, and be a little bit better when they left than when they came in.
Yeah, that's interesting as well because they really have to fall in love with football first before they want to learn about football. And coaches are now jumping to the learn stage. I've figured that out during lockdown. We're all jumping to the
Yeah,
learn stage, figuring a kid wants to learn. The kid just wants to play and have fun and fall in love with football first. And
yeah.
then maybe they want to learn about it. So really, really, really good approach. Where are you guys based, Tosh?
Well, I'm actually in the Lake District right now. I'm in Kendal. I mean, I was running a program down in Liverpool um, as well in conjunction with this, and it's high facilities. There's no obligation for the kids to attend. That was running of a Friday evening, Kevin, and then of a Monday. For those, use the word learn there. For those who want the additional learning, I have another program that I run, which is on the other side of the motorway, the M6, in a place called Kirby Lonsdale, where I invite them to come there. And we get, we get less of a Friday simply because it's the footy's out. It's of a Monday, I should say. We get less of a Monday. Sorry, simply because the footy's out. The Thursday they might be practicing with their own team. Friday they come to me. Saturday and Sunday they're usually playing. Monday again. It's a big ask. It's a big ask. So you've got the hardcore there, and with that group there, I tend to up the level a little bit with them and try to give them a flavour of what goes on at academies, in the professional academies.
That's brilliant. So what do you focus on at both those levels, Tosh?
Well, individual. I mean, we have if we have maybe 30 kids come out of a Friday, every one of them has their own ball for the hour. Don't mess about with games. We might go one ball between two to produce a 2v1 situation, but it's all repetitive of the moves. So the dribbles, the feints, the fakes. I'm not a lover of 35 keep-ups and around the world. I think that should be something they do in their own back garden. If I'm honest, it tells me that they like having a ball by them when they're doing that sort of stuff. But I always remember a quote from Johan Cruyff years ago saying, that sort of stuff belongs in a circus.
Yeah.
It's not something you do on a field or you'd see on a field. So why practice that in the real time? So I tend to stick to the things that we see more on the field.
So Tosh, just to ask you a question. I hear this often. The game is the best teacher. Just throw the kids into games. Nobody cares about my personal opinion about this, but what's your opinion of that?
It is, and there's a but. If the game's the best teacher, why am I involved in it? Why are you involved in it? Why are professional clubs involved in it? From 4 to, because they've lowered the bar now, haven't they? They're down to 4-year-olds. Why are academies are 4 to under 23, if we want to call that part of the academy world now? Why are they having them in 5 times a week for 10, 15, 20 years in some cases, if the game's the best teacher? Why is there a need for coaches? Why are we not just standing there as if, like my PE teacher did in the schoolyard, just say, sort yourselves into 2 teams and toss a ball in. The game being the teacher now is, it's like to me, do you ever remember the 11 plus, Kev? Do you ever remember?
No.
We used to sit the 11 plus, and it was...
Maybe different in Scotland, Tosh. I may be old enough, but it might be different in Scotland.
It was an exam to get into the next level of school. So at primary school, you'd sit your 11 plus, and then you'd go into the next school, or you sit A levels to get into university. Okay. Well, I think the game is your exam, is the A levels, or your 11 plus. But up to your exams and your A levels and your 11 plus, you were taught. I speak French, bonjour. I'm not pronouncing it right. So the teacher fine-tunes you how to pronounce pronunciation. I can't spell. I say can't. There's an apostrophe missing. Somebody comes in and says, you need an apostrophe there. Well, isn't that the same for a technician? Well, I know you want to dribble. I can see you could be a good dribbler, but in order to go left, you've got to shift that defender. So you might involve disguise, dropping a shoulder, whatever you want to call it. The teacher comes in and shows me that, and then I apply it into the game, the exam. Now, people, forgive me, the standards of coaching, I believe, is inferior to 20, 30 years ago. I think it's coming back. And an instance would be, and I'm not patronising the Scottish here, but the last coaching licence I took was the children's licence in Scotland. I done it at Stirling, not Stirling, the Orium, about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been coaching for years. I've got all my coaching awards, but I felt I had to relearn, you know, a refresher. And I went, and believe me, when I'd done my final assessment, I was worried whether I passed or not. I was frightened thinking, not for my own, out of embarrassment or, you know, I've coached it. I was genuinely wanted the award for me because I felt it was a terrific award. It was something like I was used to 20 years ago. The Scottish did want to, you know, the Scottish educate coaches there did want you to know about how to deliver technique, how you apply it in a game, develop a game that lets them attributes come out. And to me, it was more like what I was used to. Some of the stuff that I've been to, you know, again, with the English FA is, you know, encourage them to dribble. Yeah, can you dribble? Yeah, do you mind showing me first? You know, the kids want to do it, but I just felt that the approach is going too more dependent on, yeah, what could you have done there? I could have dribbled. Good lad, as long as you know. Well, that's a, you know, my ass. Forgive me, you know.
See the analogy you gave of the teacher fine-tuning, that's the best way I've heard it explained. A technical coach helping a kid fine-tune to take that into a game. That's the best way I've heard that explained. And I've done that Children's Award as well. It's a great course. And the guys up here do a really good job with the coach education, really, really good job. So I'm sure they'll be pleased you've given them a ringing endorsement there.
Scottish, I've always had, first, you know, when I was heavily involved with Everton, I mean, we had a big Scottish connection, you know, with the players and with the management, obviously. David Moyes and Alan Irvine, but tell you that the Scottish football is, you know, in the doldrums in some respects, but when I see the players there, the raw, all the ingredients are there to have a successful country of developing footballers. There's no doubt. I'm not, you know, like I say, I'm not patronising. It's there. I do feel the infrastructure. I think your roads are killing you. You know, there's no quick way from one side of the country to the other. You know, the few and far between the areas. I just think the infrastructure is destroying what could be a real good hotbed. And, you know, is the any, you know, Gilmore, there's one for you, isn't he? He's going to be a superstar, isn't he? Yeah. And it's what you know, Scotland need. You've had your Kenny Dalglishers, you have your Alan Hansons, Graham Souness's. You know, I'm naming them as Liverpool, you know, Liverpool players, but they were icons. I mean, you know, you can't deny they were good players, full stop. Good players, and it doesn't just stop. It doesn't just stop. It just doesn't go away. Something is just needs to be revisited, and, you know, get them playing again. You know, half the numbers of playing in Scotland to what they were in England. You're in big trouble. You know, it's, you know, you used the phrase before of you know, get them enjoying it. Isn't that the first job as a coach? So if you're the underage coach, are you a coach? Should you be called a coach or somebody who is called a coax? I hope I'm not losing that in translation. Should you coax them to play football or coach them? And I don't believe you can coach 6 and 7 year olds. I think you should coax them into wanting to be coached, wanting to play more, wanting to go away thinking, I want to do that. I want to be like Kevin. Do you see what Kevin did there today, Dad? Did you see that? I'll do that. and you coach them into wanting to get better. And then as you get that environment going, then I think you can start, coaching them, so to speak.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Tosh. Tosh, we'll come back to coaching. I'm interested in rewinding a good few years and going back to when you were younger. No
There's a
offense.
few
No
degrees to
offense.
rewind, let me tell you.
Did you play growing up when you were
Yeah,
younger?
yeah. I mean, up until 12, I wasn't just the best player in our house. Up until I was, I was a dribbler. I wouldn't say the best, but I could play, I could dribble. And then we had our summer holidays at 12, at 11, going from just 12, 11 into 12. Went to summer holidays, went back to school. Everyone was 6'4". I was still 2'4". So, and to give you an idea of how small I was, when I left school at 16, I went away to be a jockey down in Wantage with Graham Corner, the Grand National winner, well-to-do. I was down there at 16, so you can imagine I'm down here, And so the game, as much as I played, I was getting beat up on the ball. It was all team. The team must win. Then there was no development programs as such, and it was the days, I suppose, of if you were big and you could, big, physical, and had something about you. It was dominant then. The recruitment was big lads, big quick lads. When I came back at 16, when I came back, when did I go to a job? 15. And came back at 16 and a half because I picked up, I'm allergic to horse environment, would you believe? I mean, talk about having no luck. I'm I'm a dwarf, right? And the only occupation that'll take me on, I'm allergic to. I mean, so the footy was meant to be. So anyway, I got disease the bone. And then I was, I don't know whether it was that rest period or whatever. I mean, I actually grew some, I'm not the tallest now, but I'm, just over 5'7". But from 4'11", I've turned into a giant. I was always pretty quick and I was always quite athletic. So I started then getting back into the footy, and I quickly, come and play for us. And I went through the, what you call it, the top amateur leagues at the time. We had the West Lancs. We had what are the leagues there? I'm just trying to think. The Zingari at the time. We had the Liverpool leagues. We had the Liverpool Saturday leagues. The top teams in them, I was quite fortunate enough to play for. Went on then to move to play for Formby, which was in the northwest counties, which now you're starting to get paid, but you're starting to get a few quid for your travelling expenses and stuff like that. And then I eventually ended up playing around about 34, 35. I was after going on a coaching course. I was actually playing at my highest level of football because a coach had told me how to just do one or two things within like a mini practice. And I started doing it in the games. And within 4 or 5 weeks, I was playing for Marine in the reserves. Marine were in the Unibond League there, which is I think it's one step below the professional league at the time. And I'm finding myself playing against Man United at the Cliff. I've got Sir Alex Ferguson looking through the windows, and you think you're going to make it at 35, 36. Still thinking I could make it, still trying to impress. But, I wouldn't say, regardless of the size thing, whether I'd have ever reached the heights I wanted to reach, Kevin. But I was certainly, I thought, decent. I was an aggressive player, not in terms of attack, attack and stuff like that. Aggressive of when I've got the ball, I'm going forwards with it. I just love the get on the front foot and attack, and I've took that into the coaching side to me,
So Tosh, how did you get into the coaching then? Because obviously you're still playing at 35. Where did that interest come from?
I was getting asked to manage, like we all do. When I was about 32, 33, because I'd played at what was considered a reasonable level at the time, and me, because it was a hotbed. I mean, like Scotland in the day, going back, every kid who can walk's playing. So the pool of good players is bigger. So I'd managed to stay afloat in that, and he started asking me to play, to manage. Well, I just felt I had to get some sort of qualifications. I'm always one for not qualifications making, but I go on courses and I pass or fail. You come away with the knowledge. You've got to buy the knowledge. The certificate is just a receipt for me to say that you've bought it. You haven't stolen it. So when I get my coaching awards, it's a receipt. It doesn't mean, So I got involved in the management, and then I thought I'd better go and get some coaching qualifications to underpin it, so the lads will know what I'm talking about. And I went down to a place called Iron Marsh. The first coach I bumped into was a coach called Keith Mayer, and he just set everything that I wanted to know off of me, and that was the first page of the learning book for me. I didn't realise how much I didn't know.
Yeah, I was the same. I think when I was younger, I liked to dribble, but then just people shouting pass at you, and I fell out of love with the game because of that. But I think if someone had told me back then about feints, about shifting the ball left, right, left, etc., I would have been a better player. And when I figured all this stuff out, it set a fire underneath me as well. I had a passion in me to actually coach and help the next generation. It's amazing what one coach can do to a player or an aspiring coach to set that passion off.
Kev, where I had the biggest issue trying to get that. I mean, in England, if somebody, or Scotland, if somebody says every time you get the ball, dribble, want you to dribble, you'd be delighted, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
When I was in the States, they would not dribble. They would. No, it's a team game, Tosh. It's not a team game. Get the ball and dribble. It took me 2.5 years to get them to dribble. Once they dribbled, my God, you were off the leash. And their culture was so social. They didn't want to be the one who broke the social circle. They didn't want to get called the ball hog. They didn't want to get called greedy. I'm saying, but tell me, I used to say, who's the best players? And Messi, Ronaldo, the girls would say Mia Hamm and stuff. I said, what do they do? They dribble and you be Mia Hamm, you be Ronaldo, get the ball. I had them all dribblers, I tell you. Talk ball hogs.
Did you get deported, Tosh? Is that why you're back in the UK? Did you get deported?
I tell you, but they loved it, and it was fantastic. Seeing them do the moves and it, when you do something like that, Kevin, you unleash what's hidden, what kids want to express. And they've got somebody who's willing to take the blame for their failure. So if somebody said, why didn't you pass it? I used to say, just tell them the coach, because they're very respectful towards the coaches out there. Just say the coach told you must dribble. So they were out of jail. Oh, the coach told me that, Dad. So, Mom, Dad. So I took the blame away from them. I accepted all the responsibility. But because they started expressing themselves and doing that sort of stuff, the plus on the other side was the schoolwork shot through the roof. The confidence, you were developing self-confidence. The footy was like a core, and all these other little things. You were starting to excel then in other sports. You were starting to excel in school and being able to come out to the shell a bit more, that the person started developing. So then they kept coming back to the well to drink from the well, the nectar, and then they were having a sip of that, and then they were back out there, and it was a real exciting journey I felt we went on. And that's, but that's the same thing that we did with right through the academy, and anyone a coach that tried to keep that going.
Football's a powerful tool. Just speaking of the academy, Tosh, you moved into Everton as, I think, a volunteer coach back in 1996. How did that come about?
Well, it wasn't so much a volunteer coach. It was I just passed me full badge, and Everton asked me if I fancied joining them. The academies were just evolving, and part of the academy structure was to have community coaches. It was a full-time position, so I started in the community. Well, no, I started in the academy part-time in the academy first. I think I did that for about 2 weeks, and after about 2 weeks, they asked me to consider doing the community full-time community role. Well, I was self-employed at the time on the landscape gardening, and what they were offering was, I would say, was about a quarter of what I was earning, if I'm honest. But my wife was dead supportive. She was brilliant. Even though we had 2 young kids at the time, if it's what you want to do, go and do it. Just remember, it'll be 1 egg instead of 2. It'll be all those little sacrifices will have to be made. We may not have to go on a holiday. We may not go on a holiday for a year or 2. What about the kids? How long are you going to give it? All the rest of it. And she was so supportive. So I went into the Everton. I took the job. I managed to find myself a part-time job outside of the full-time job to make ends meet. So I was out from 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight. I was running a sports centre in McGull to try and make ends meet. But after 2 years of the community work, which was the best, to this day, I loved working with all those pro players, and those young lads coming through. And it was like the icing on the cake, but it wasn't the cake. The cake for me was the community. It was the community work. I mean, Kev, I used to, every ability, every area of society I've worked in and coached in and learned from it. I mean, we did, I did while I was in the community program, there was Walton Prison is close to us. I went in and run a coaching course for the cellmates who were being released, who may not have seen the children, due to the time that they'd spent inside. So I went in and we did a course for them, and it was unbelievable. We had, I had to change the terminology of the sayings. So, do you know, in Scotland, do they know what keeping Dixie is?
No.
Would you know what
Dixie Dean?
Sorry?
Is it Dixie Dean? Something to do with that?
No, Dixie. Keep Dixie means keep a lookout, keep a watch, look around, you make sure suppose the cops aren't coming, something like that. So, for check your shoulders, I'd shout, Dixie! And all the players would be like, checking looking around, to make them aware. And we, I always remember one of the lads was running, and he wasn't blessed with athleticism. No wonder you got caught, and it was just unbelievable. But it was relationship. It was knowing how to relate, and I don't think you can be prescriptive. I don't think you can talk as a coach the one way to everybody. You wouldn't talk to a 6-year-old like you talk to a 16, etc. But that doesn't mean you talk soft to us, softer in tone to an under 8, and an under 16 is a license to shout to get your points across. You've got to be able to adjust, know what level you're with, and these like life skills that I've come across through being fortunate enough to work in all these environments. It's allowed me to use communication, if you want, to aid me coaching. And I think that relationship, I'm fortunate enough, I don't know how I do it, but it actually makes me look a better coach. We all coach. We all coach. We do good sessions, we do bad sessions. But you know what? If you can get the kids understanding the message you're trying to get across in a way that they can absorb the message, it's effective coaching.
Yeah, they are like sponges. You just need to phrase it or get the message across in the right way. See, when you were at Everton, what was the focus on? What was the philosophy? So, was it more running? Was it more running with the ball? Was it technical, tactical, physical? Did you have a curriculum or a philosophy, or was it up to the individual coach?
I think the curriculum evolved, and I'm not for 1 minute, saying the coaches designed the curriculum, Kevin, because the academies were just coming into fruition. There was no proven method. There was no set way. I mean, that set way 2012, wasn't it? I mean, 2012 the EPP, the performance plan come out, so that's 15 years after the academies were up and running. So the curriculum, I would say, was a blank piece of paper. The old, you must be able to run with the ball, you must be able to dribble. Those techniques and skills, they were there as, that's what we want to do. But for each topic, I don't think there was a set of, well, how best do we start it, and how do we monitor progress, and so it was given a little bit carte blanche, really, to stay within those topics. How would you do it? And so good on the head of youth at that time, who gave us the license to do that and evolve what I felt was, well, it proved to be a real effective program. I mean, when I took over the technical coordinator's role, was my job wasn't to develop players for the first team. It was try to get 3 or 4 of them into the youth team, just have them there to get into the youth team. To this day, you're having a laugh, aren't you? I said, anyone can do that. I'll say, I'll give you a youth team. I put the pressure on myself, and the first full cycle of the youth team, we got 6 and 7. We didn't get 2s and 3s. We got 6 and 7s, and a number of them went on to play for the first team. So I'm sort of one who puts pressure on myself to deliver, and it sort of gives me a goal to work to.
Right, so you've been credited with developing the Everton Way philosophy. Where did that fit into what you're saying, and what is the Everton Way?
Well, I don't know what the Everton Way is now, if I'm honest. But at the time, with the inception of academies, Kevin, and we had a number, like most clubs do. They get a number of overseas visitors, particularly the US at the time, contacting you. Can we come and see what you're doing? We're starting clubs out in the US or Canada, all over the world. So we used to have coaches coming across into the academy. They'd stand around watching, and then you take those notes away. And it evolved into 1999. The technical director for the US, a fellow called Jeff Tippin, was watching some of the work that I did, and he said to me, any chance of you presenting this into the US and showing them what goes on at this academy? I think it's good what you do. So I went out to the US in 1999, 2000, in the year 2000, the Christmas, January of 2000, that's right. And I'm putting on a coaching session. I thought, 30,000 there. 30,000 over 4 days. You're having a laugh. And I'm talking Gascoigne. I was doing a Gascoigne team. Nobody knew Gascoigne was at the time. Paul would just scored that goal in the Euros at 96. He was the barbershop and putting. No.
Yeah. Move on.
Yeah. But I quickly had to, while I'm doing that session, I remember thinking of American players, and I just started turning the players into the American names, at the time. So it was a Mia Hamm turn. Whether Mia Hamm had done it before in her life, I don't know, but I was calling it a Mia Hamm. Suddenly, they were switched on. And then it's just networking. From there, there was a number of coaches. When did we go with Craig? Craig was out there. Craig Brown was out there one year. Craig presented him, and Archie Knox were there one year. I mean, all the top, Steve McLaren, Houllier, all these people were out there. And I always remember I was presenting what I thought was to a class of maybe 100, 150 coaches. And on the front bench was Gerard Houllier, Benglos, right? Tony Carr from West Ham. Who else was there? It was Steve McLaren. The 6 of them were just on the front bench, and I'm telling them, suggesting this is the way forward. And to be fair, everybody clapped. They never booed me. They never said anything bad about me. But that was, I didn't realise it was going to be that big. And then from there, we got asked. Then we had the new chief exec came into the club, Keith Winers, who used to be in charge of Aberdeen. Yeah. Keith at one time, Keith Winers come in, looking around, and he was trying to move the club into a forward-thinking club, and he liked some of the suggestions that the academy were making. He asked me how would we do it. We put it down on a piece of paper, and he backed it. He let it run, and from there he asked me to go and be a salesman, I suppose, and keep your academy job, but start sending this message out. And it took too much of the time from me that I came back and I said, I have to have an idea. I said, why don't we just put it on a DVD or on video to save me travelling? It was the worst thing I could have done, because we put it on DVD, and then everybody, it just went off like a rocket. Everybody wanted it, which meant more time away from the academy, the job I was really getting paid for. And I moved into that international role of going around and just helping academies around the world develop, with some of the good practice. We brought players across. I really enjoyed it, but it certainly isn't the role of a married man. You can't be married and be an international football developer, I'm telling you. Unless you don't want to be married.
Yeah. So I've read that that Everton Way programme was the first programme available online. Is that a fact?
Yeah.
First technical training programme.
Yeah, first one out, and through at the time, Leon Osborne, Tony Hibbert, Victor Vaughan, Wayne, Jose, they were flooding through. And they were just outside of my batch. Leon and that, they were already in the club and developed. Wayne was 14, 15. He'd just come through, and he scored that goal against Arsenal, which really set everything on fire. And then it's continuity, isn't it? We kept the flow going with the youngest player ever to play for Everton, the youngest goal scorer, Vaughan and stuff like that. And the chain just kept going. And people were asking, what's the ingredients? Well, there's no ingredients. I think it was recruitment, identifying suitable players. And academies, centre of excellences, whatever you call them, Kevin, they always got the best player, today's best player. We were getting the player who might be slightly behind now, but he met the checklist and had the potential to go past everybody at a later date, because it's not that sprint. And we weren't interested in having the best under-9s team or the best under-8s team. We wanted them coming out the other end. So they had to be coming to their peak, if you want, in terms of catching people's eyes at 17 and 18. I mean, it was slightly younger than in a number of cases, but that's when we needed them to be hitting the heights. We didn't really want them hitting the heights of being the best under-9. How many best under-9s have you seen? Have I seen? There's thousands of them. They don't move on. And how do you manage an outstanding under-9 who the whole world is saying, you're the best under-9, Kev? You've got problems. I mean, how do you deal with them? Under-9 dealing with that sort of clamour. How do you deal with the parents? Academies weren't used to that and how to deal with that. I mean, that evolved. So the best way to do it was treat them all the same. Treat them all as there. And I think that was, again, something that held Everton. There was no, he's the star, we look after him. We treated everybody the same in terms of all get one tracksuit. Yeah, you want a new tracksuit? We haven't got one. Sorry, you're going to have that one with the hole in. And all this, we kept them there. We kept them level-headed because nobody knew who the best one was going to be. They didn't. So we kept that. I also think that with another big reason of Everton's success is because we had less than most, we worked harder. We had to. I mean, Finch Farm now it's unbelievable. I mean, it's got to be one of the best in the, certainly, if not the world, certainly in Europe. I mean, it's a fantastic facility, but I think it makes life easier, to attract a player. If I'm going to sign, you're going to sign for Everton now, and you want to see our facilities, they're fantastic. Your mindset, what I'm expecting the player's mindset would be, I'd expect them to be excellent because you're you're a Premier League club, and we've got all the best coaches. I'd expect you to have all the best coaches. You're a Premier League club, and we've got the best this, and we've got the best this, and we've got the best. And these players expect it now. When we had Everton, we had this warehouse. Honestly, it was a warehouse. It was a brick wall. It was freezing. You could hang meat up in it. I'm not telling you. It was freezing. And the kids had a pair of shorts on. And I'm not so sure, we had to work within our means there, but it was freezing. And I'm telling you, I'm not so sure you could play in it now. I think they'd close it down. Social services would close it down now. I'm telling you, it was freezing. So anyway, the kids used to survive in the shorts and the T-shirt. So shorts and T-shirts for us. The staff, get your coat off, get the shirt. And for 4 hours, all the staff, and we had a great, there for that environment that we were trying to produce. We had Paul Harris, Robbie Anderson, Eddie Murray, myself, Lavo, a fellow called Ian Lavo, still there now. Ian used to come in and do a bit. Martin Waldron, who was the head of recruitment, always around the younger ones because he could see the importance in them. You keep them, the conveyor belts will go going. So we were around them for 4 hours to stand in sub-zero temperatures. Was, we were doing with the kids, and the kids couldn't complain because the coaches were doing the same. There's nothing worse when you see the coach with a thing, 2 jumpers and all and he's padded. He can't move. He can't demonstrate or anything because he's padded up. That was so. We tried to keep it. Whatever we ask you to do, it's something that we do ourselves, and we all tried to work on that premise, and it worked well for us.
Excellent. You should try coming up here to the northeast of Scotland, and we train right beside the sea, Tosh, and the wind. Oh my God, it's
Is
cold.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tosh, you said that you treated all the kids the same because you weren't sure which ones would then go on to make it. Players like Wayne Rooney, though, could you tell from the first time you saw him that he was going to become the player that he became in the end?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Wayne was already in the program, and um, there's other coaches, had a significant input in Wayne's development, and none more so than Colin Harvey. I mean, without I'm not going to say without Colin Harvey, Wayne would not have been propelled as soon as he was, but Colin looked after him, and Colin dipped him in and out of the youth team at the right time. I mean, Wayne at under 14, I think he played in the Youth Cup, and I've still got the videos, to be honest with you, of his Youth Cup, the stuff that he did right through the Youth Cup. He was 14 or 15 playing against fully fledged under 18s, and I think the whole world knew that, the football world knew that it was, we're in for something special if he keeps his feet on the floor, which he has, if he stays level-headed, which he has, and he kept developing, which he did, and he was sensational. I mean, the stuff that he was doing, I mean, some of his goals that we've seen on telly are spectacular, but there's one or two on that run in the youth team that I don't think he's bettered. They were absolutely unbelievable goals, unbelievable, and even more so when you think he's 14, 15 years of age doing it. David Pleat, we were at Tottenham. We were at Tottenham when we played Tottenham in the second leg of the semi-final, and Wayne scored 2 goals that David Pleat, I think he was the manager of Tottenham at the time, said it's the best 2 goals he's ever seen scored at White Hart Lane. I mean, and this is a 14, 15-year-old kid who's done it. Sensational. So, to answer your question, yeah, slightly younger than that. He just added about him. I mean, it's like an X factor. It's like a star quality that he's not. Wayne personality is night and day. When he's off the field, it's night. He's asleep. When he walks onto that field, it's daylight. Dawn's broken, and he's a different player. He's doing right foot, left foot. Somebody can strike it as hard with the left, like old Bobby Charlton. Bobby Charlton was famous for being able to hit it with both feet with equal power. Wayne was the same. Wayne was the same, and he never went onto a field with an I am. He would come on, he would play, he would be telling you how good other players were that he was playing. He's good in Tosh, isn't he? He's good in, he's good. It was never anything other than 100% applied himself to, and he did. It did stand out that he was, when somebody's scoring 2 or 3 goals a game every week against any opposition, I mean, there's only one way they're going to go.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of players, Wayne, Ross Barkley, Rodwell, Jose Baxter, James Vaughan. I've probably missed out a load, hundreds of others. Was Wayne the best of those at a young age?
Well, it's a funny question because it depends what you're looking for in a player. Now, if you're looking for what Wayne was, you would say he's been the best thing. But there's nobody, Callum McManaman. Callum McManaman's a better dribbler than Wayne. He'd turn your insides out. I mean, he'd leave you with your shirt on, back to front and inside out. You wouldn't know whether you're coming and going with Wayne. Ross, different type of footballer, isn't he? I mean, midfield. Has there ever been a better centre back or potential centre back than Jack Rodwell? In my eyes, no. Well, we pat ourselves on the back for developing all these players, Kev. We fail to mention the ones that we could have done more for, or the ones that have drifted off into the, and they're working in other environments now. We only seem to bask in the glory of the good of the ones that make it, but we've let, even though they might have reached good levels, I still feel, particularly in Jack's case, and it's something that hurts me in some ways, is he's so much better and still young enough, 27, 28, still young enough to get something like he was. The lad is exceptional, honestly. Centre-back. But not a...
Tosh, you say centre-back though, but he played centre midfield.
Yeah.
Did you have him as centre-back in the youth team?
Yeah,
we had
him at centre-back all the way up to 14, 15. Right. He was developing as a centre-back. He was Rio Ferdinand with 2 A-star pluses. He was better. He was the same type. Tell me, I mean, Rio Ferdinand won a fair share of headers, but do you put Rio Ferdinand in the John Terry field of winning headers? Do you put Rio Ferdinand in the John Terry slide tackling, the winning? No, you put Rio Ferdinand down as an elegant centre-back. Jack was him. But, the heading was where, and... I'm not going to say brave of that, because Jack could tackle, but he never had to tackle. He was the biggest lad forever. When we come through at under 9, under 10, he was so much taller that you bump into him, you bounced off him 4 or 5 yards. So if, his nature was, he wasn't used to us, in my opinion, he wasn't used to us, but he didn't want to be the fellow who was bowling everybody over. He wanted to be one of them. He probably didn't want to be that tall so early. But he was elegant. I mean, he made his debut for Everton as a left back. He's a right-footed centre mid, but he made his debut as a left back. He came on and made a left back, and you wouldn't know what foot he kicked with. And his pace, his reading of the game, his passing. He's a centre mid. He had all those attributes, but he suffered from being in a good group of players, and sometimes to get all the players you want on the field, players are sacrificed. So Jack can play in midfield. We'll take him out of his best position, put him in his second best position, which is still very good, by the way, and maybe put, another player. Let's say Ross, for argument's sake. Let's put Ross as the centre back, to accommodate Ross, not to accommodate Jack. And I think that's where we, as coaches, we've got to be careful that we don't move players around for the sake of the team.
Did that disappoint you then? Because you said earlier on that you treated everyone the same. But now you're saying maybe that some were treated more favourably than others. Maybe not at the youth level, but as you go up. I mean, that's football, right? But does that disappoint you to a certain extent?
Yeah, but when we say, just to clarify, treating them the same as you're treating them all as, whether you're Jack, whether you're Wayne, you only get one. Yeah, you've got to be here at 9. You get your knuckles wrapped if you're late for practice, or you're not applying yourself. We never had much of that, but that's they never got let off because they were X and X player. Otherwise, it causes disharmony amongst the group, and parents, as I'm sure you're well aware. But as they get older, to develop as a player, I do believe that to be the best centre-back, you have to be able to play in midfield. To be the best midfielder, I do believe you've got to play at the back. So moving players around to aid development, I'm comfortable with. But if I'm a goal scorer and you try to turn me into a number 10, are you adding to my game or taking away from my game? And I think there's 1 or 2 players in the past that we've coached as they get to the youth level. The coach has seen something that he feels could be to the benefit of the player, but they persevere with it rather than saying, I got that one wrong, and put it back before the damage has been done. And that's the bit that I get concerned with, that we've got to remember that academies and develop players, that's what we are, we're not developing a team. No team we ever coach is going to get plucked up and start in the SPL or the EPL next week. It's never going to happen, but one of them might. So you're trying to develop that one or two.
Yeah, so developing the individuals rather than the team. I think I've read a quote from you before. If you have 11 good individuals, then you have a good team. So developing the individual makes sense. Is that very much your coaching philosophy?
Well, Gary Ablett, God bless him, Gary unfortunately died, didn't he? He used to tell us stories, because he used to be on people's experience, and Gary played in Liverpool, for Liverpool, and he came across and he played for Everton, and Gary played for the likes of, Dalglish, Souness, all the, FA Cup. He played for all them. I remember having a cup of coffee with him, all the coaches were around the table. Well, what system did Liverpool play? He said the system was he picked the best players. He picked 11 players. He said, get on there, just go and play. That was Paisley's thing. They're my best players. They're on the field. Stay in that area. You stay in that area. Go and play. So the players sorted out. He said, we had the best players. Well, haven't Man City got the best players now? Haven't Liverpool got the best players now? Because Liverpool, they're a joy to watch. I mean, I'm an Evertonian, I'm a Blue, but I appreciate good play. But the good players, Man City, the good players. Now, philosophies, Liverpool's philosophy up to a couple of years ago was always pass and move, blah, 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 blah. They're still doing that, but they've got the best players in the world doing it now, which makes it ever so hard for everybody else.
Yeah, it would do. Tosh, one man I wanted to talk to you about was one of my heroes growing up, was Duncan Ferguson. I think one of the first matches I ever attended was Dundee United against Motherwell at Fir Park. Big Dunk just bullied the Motherwell defence that day, and he scored a peach as well, and that's probably the day I fell in love with football.
Yeah.
And I was gutted when he left Dundee United and went to Rangers. But looking back on it, he was too big for United, I think. And he wanted to win trophies. What was he like when he arrived at Everton? Was he a presence straight away?
Well, and I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but Duncan was a legend at Everton before he was a player. I mean, they couldn't wait for him to come down. And we heard all about him. There's Everton and Scottish football. There's a big connection there. So when he came down, he scores in the derby, didn't he? I think that was one of his early goals for Joe Royle. And you cement your place in history, scoring in derbies. But he was everything. I mean, for a big man, what a first touch. I mean, it belied him. I mean, he's famous for the heading, and his aggression in the box. But I'll tell you what, his first touch, he could bring other people into the game. And he wasn't credited with that close technique, He was that in the manner that he should do. He was highly technical, had a great first touch, and could do things that you wouldn't have expected of somebody with that stature. No, it's terrific. And I think as a leader and somebody who galvanised and led from the front, he'd be out carrying the banner, wouldn't he? He'd be out in the front. The horse would be there, and then he'd look behind to see where the others are, and he'd see there's nobody behind him. He'd still carry on charging. He'd still go on. He would carry it into the fight, and he'd raise people's game 5, 10, 15, 20%, and that was the bit that particularly then they would label the dogs of war when Joe had them, when Duncan first come there, but we had them. He came, didn't he? That tenacity, and then just mixing it with the bit of guile. I mean, he's an icon at the club, and he's carried that into the coaching, and I think the people who witnessed this short time as the manager of Everton can see the passion, the love, and the way the excitement and the wanting to do well from him rubs off. And for Ancelotti to make him assistant manager on the first team squad there is more than shrewd.
Brilliant. See, players like Duncan, would they come down to training sessions, youth training sessions, and have a watch and meet the kids and tell them stories, inspire them, and things like that?
Well, we had a number of players. I mean, if I'm honest, Duncan wasn't one of them. But having said that, we, all the players, we used to run this like an academy day where all the kids who were in my world, so to speak, at Belfield, because we were on a split site at the time. So the 12s down, once a year we go in, see the manager, boss, David or Walter. When Walter was there. Walter, can we have the field, the training ground? Can we have the players? We want to do this coaching day with the kids. Not one player would miss. All the kids, all the players playing together, and Duncan playing with them. I mean, if you've ever seen a 7-year-old to Duncan, I mean, he doesn't come past his knee, and they're playing head tennis, and it's fabulous. And they're actually keeping it. It's unbelievable. But Duncan, the enthusiasm he showed there, like all the players, fabulous. But they used to come into the this cold meat warehouse that I'm talking about. The players used to come in there. Gazza, Gazza was one there. Lee Carsley, Unzi, Dave Watson, Stubbsy. They used to come in and play with the young players. And Gazza, I had Paul came in and done a coaching session with them once, just after he'd done his quad. He was playing ever so well for us, and he took a free kick against Aston Villa, and he tore his quad. And there was talk, whether it was, how true it was, I don't know, but there was talk that he was going to get recalled. He was playing that well. There was a recall for England from him. He was playing that well. I think he was 33 at the time. He'd done his quad. He hadn't kicked a ball for weeks. And I asked him to do a coaching session. I said, Paul, you do so. I'd love to. The problem was I forgot to ask the boss, Walter or Archie. And 5-5, Paul's running down to do this session. And Walter and Archie aren't happy with me. They've given me loads. What are you doing? I said, I'll cancel it, boss. I'll cancel it. Can't cancel it. The kids are looking forward to it. All the parents are in there. Anything happens to him, Tosh. Anything happens to him, you're up the road. He frightened the life out of me. And Archie, you can't mix with. I mean, but Walter's an assassin, quiet. He is glare. If he looks at you wrong, you're in trouble. So anyway, Paul's done this session. I stood against the wall thinking, I'm gone here. I'm sacked. He was slide tackling. He was smashing these 109s all over the park, tackles and dribbles. And I'm thinking, he's going to get empty. He's going to empty me out. Gaffer's going to go berserk here. And it was sensational. The kids loved it, absolutely loved it. And again, it's Walter and Archie, knew all the time that Paul was doing the session. But what they were saying to me is, you've got to come to us to get the okay. Don't show me going to the players. And he franked the life out of me. But Walter, Archie, and the Scottish connection again, isn't it? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant they were. So they used to support everything that the academy did. Walter used to come in on numerous occasions. I remember Lee Carsley was playing once, and Lee's playing with the under-11s it was, and we were doing this like street football thing. And Lee, all the parents are there, and he was making his debut in in the hall in front of the parents, and you can understand why it's a little bit intimidating. All the parents close up. Lee's got the ball. And it's Chris Long who was playing who plays for Motherwell in Scotland. Yeah. Longy nips the ball off him, like a ferret off him, through his legs, scored. I'm standing against the wall. And all I said to Lee was, Lee, you can't give the ball away at this level. And the whole place has gone up, and he's soon playing real. I tell you, he's soon moving it 1 and 2 touch and doing the dribbles. And we used to have them all in. Stubbsy, Alan Stubbs used to come in and join in, and they were this springboard for, a lot of players' development was built around them little street, not to do with coaching, just creating the environment, setting it up, and their icons coming in, playing with them. And, Alan Stubbs talking to a player, get a little bit closer. Where in the world do you get that sort of experience at 9, 10, 11, 12 years of age? And they're on the late wall, Lee Carsley, wall passes, Gazza doing the dribbles, putting them all over their head, the disguise. They're watching them and running away. That so valuable for those players' development, all those experiences.
Fantastic stories, Tosh. I can only imagine what it would be like to be a young kid and playing with Gazza and all the players you mentioned. Absolutely brilliant. I mentioned at the start of the interview, during the intro, that Craig Brown, obviously the former Scotland manager, once called you one of the best youth coaches in the world, or a quote like that. How does that make you feel, Tosh, when you hear things like that?
Well, I mean, I'm humble. Obviously, I mean, you don't... honestly, I've never done anything. I've wanted to be as good as I possibly can be in whatever I do. I mean, it's in them, isn't it? I mean, if you were playing tiddlywinks, you want to win. If you're playing anything, there's you want to be the best at it. And you're always striving to be the best. I don't envisage myself, I certainly don't see myself as one of the best, as the best. I want to be that, I'm not gonna, and I'm still striving to be that. I still am taking information, I'm watching stuff and thinking, how can I make that even better? How could I do that better? I still analyse myself. But, Craig, I was fortunate enough, we did with Ireland, the Republic and Northern Ireland came together, and they had a programme called Watering the Grassroots, and it was the first football thing since the Troubles. I think it was the inaugural coming together of the two football nations, the FAI and the IFA. And Craig was a guest, I was a guest, Chrissy Houghton were guests, and Craig watched. It never really commented much, and then when it was all over, we had a chat. I like what you're doing, blah blah blah, and he just sent me a little testimonial, if you want, a little testament, saying that he was impressed with what I did, and having been around and seen a few, he regarded me as one of the better ones at doing it, and it's fabulous, from Craig, World Cup. I mean, and the thing with Craig's background is teaching. So it's even more valuable to me because there's an educator saying he thinks I can educate, and take his football hat off. The fact that he's been a teacher, from anybody in the teaching profession saying nice things like that means an awful lot to me. The fact that he's a football educator and saying it with that experience, obviously it means the world to me.
Yeah, I went to a meet and greet thing with Craig, and he is a funny guy. He was telling some stories. He's a funny guy. So yeah, a compliment from him, a highly respected figure in the game. I can only imagine again how you felt receiving that. Tosh, brilliant.
Yeah, and he is great company.
Yeah. Tosh, so obviously we're in a bit of a global situation at the moment. Lockdown, haven't been able to get out and on the grass and stuff like that. What have you been doing during this period to keep active?
Funny enough, I mean, I've been putting together some magazines. I've managed to speak to one or two players. A little chat with Chalky from Hearts.
Okay.
Alan Irvin you know, who's down at West Ham now. We've been putting something together there for a magazine that we've just launched, just on stuff. In terms of development programs, I'm not going to rush back to start coaching. You know, the thing hasn't gone. I don't want to be responsible for bringing a number of people together and any illness. You know, I think devising programs, devising the next step, studying the game a little bit. Been watching a lot of individuals' techniques, things that they're doing now in the game, and it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. So just trying to bring the Mia Hamm up into a Carrie Lloyd or something on the girls' side. The boys now, you know, what used to be a Stanley Matthews is now an Mbappe. You know, you just got to stay in tune with the kids. But a lot of football studying. I've been doing a couple of courses, just improving me academic side of it, because you know I don't know what the next phase for me is, Kev. I mean, I'd be sad from a personal point of view if the knowledge that I have gained, you know, and whether it's good knowledge for anybody to share, I'm unsure, but I'd be sad if it was just allowed, like a lot of far better coaches than me, you know, have just been left to go out to grass, great, you know, and not add the knowledge or a little bit of expertise, I suppose, that not being allowed to get tapped into. And that's why I've done a couple of these, maybe 4 or 5 of these now over the past 6 weeks. I mean, sharing stories, you know, is environmental. I was lucky. The environment at Everton was developed by chance, and once we seen what was there, we evolved it, and the players, you know, taking part in it. All those experiences of, be a shame if they lost, because they're still so relevant. Who is the best under 9 player in Scotland?
We didn't know.
Okay. He may not be playing footy.
Yeah.
He might have a golf club in his hand. Now, what if their first connection with a coach isn't the one that they envisaged or wanted? There's a chance that they go and pick up this other sport, and you've lost them. So you've been guilty of losing the best player in the country. And these, like, setting up this environment is so important to me. I've got the best coaching sessions in the world. You've got the best coaching sessions in the world. But you know, if nobody comes, they're not very good. Are they? You're never going to apply them. So you've got to be careful that you keep coming back. You can't have a development program if nobody comes to be developed. This isn't school. They're not obligated to go. So if they want to stay off, they're staying off. And you know what? You can't get that lesson back. There might have been a word, a moment, an instance where I get that, I get it all now, but they weren't there. We've got a responsibility to make sure that they're still there, and they're there for every word. That's
brilliant advice, Tosh. Listen, thank you so much for your time.
No, you're welcome.
It really has been an honour to talk to someone who's been involved in youth development for 25 years, and you've still got a great passion for it, Tosh. I've loved hearing all your stories. You've had a massive impact on footballers across the globe, not just in Everton. And again, thank you very much for sharing all your stories and all your advice to everyone that's watching. Thank you.
More than welcome, and thanks for listening to me. Must have good ears, I tell you. Thank you.